Cool. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Seabin Investor Q&A. I'm just going to give us about 30 seconds for a few more people to join, and then I'll kick it off. And just so everyone is aware, today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll be sending around a copy of the recording after in the next day or so. So if you have to duck out, if you have to miss anything, or if you want to share it with anyone who might be interested, you'll definitely have a link to that recording soon enough. I see now we've got a fair few participants already joined, and thanks so much for taking some time to be with us today. Really excited to be hosting the Seabin Investor Q&A. My name's Marty. I'm from Birchal. We're the crowdsourced funding platform that's hosting this offer. And today we've got Pete Siglinski, the co-founder and CEO of Seabin, and Charlie Griffith, the general manager of Seabin, joining us. Thanks so much for being with us, guys. I'm going to give a bit of an overview about what we're going to cover today, and then I'll go through the structure. But first, I just want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that Birchal is beaming in from today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin nation, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So for Birchal, we're hosting the third offer for Seabin on our platform, and we've been really proud to work with Seabin over a number of years now. Just a little bit of a high-level statement from Birchal, just to kick us off, if you're not aware of who we are, what we do. So we're working with Seabin on this crowdsourced funding offer. We're the licensed intermediary to host this. So the information and discussion on this webinar is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Cool. So now that's out the way, I'll talk about the overview in terms of the structure, and then we'll pass over to the Seabin team. So to kick us off, we've got a presentation from the Seabin team, which will go for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we're going to have plenty of time for Q&A after. So you'll notice down the bottom, there's a Q&A panel. Feel free to chuck questions in there at any time, and you can upvote those questions throughout. So we'll answer the questions based on the amount of upvotes they get. There'll be plenty of time for questions after. Got about 30 minutes for that. So what I might do now is pass over to Pete Siglinski from Seabin to kick us off with the presentation. Over to you, Pete.
Righto, no pressure. Righto, so hey, I'm every Tuesday I'm working from home. I've got my two little boys, so I've loaded them up with lunch and some activities. So hopefully, yeah, no surprises. But if I have to duck out, a couple of minutes, I just got to help the boys or do something. Then yeah, we'll just crack on. So, Charlie, do you want to say something? Then I'll get into a presentation, or actually sorry, I forgot to actually introduce properly, but yeah, so I live up in Byron Shire. Office is in Mullumbimby. I grew up here. We started Seabin in Europe and then moved back to Australia, and our main operations are in Sydney and Los Angeles. And when I'm not doing this stuff, I'm hanging with my boys down the beach or the river, or trying to get a few surfs in to stay sane. And yeah, Charlie, over to you.
Thanks, Pete. I'm Charlie, and currently the general manager for Seabin. I've been with Seabin since 2019, and I started off in an operations role and then into business operations, and now general manager for the last year. And love it here, great team. Great purpose that we're doing. I live also up in Mullumbimby, in the Byron Shire, and yeah, an avid lover of nature, the ocean, surfing, skiing, getting outdoors, and love this job because I want to protect the environment in which we live. Without it, we don't really have life. So I'm doing everything I can to do that. Yeah, that's me. Rightio, cool. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Let's see, where are we? Seabin webinar. Let's see if this works. How are we going? Can you see that, Martin and Charlie, or everyone?
Yep, that's it.
Good.
Okay. So let me just readjust my the Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. So, Seabin, we've changed our tagline to be impact data to repair the planet, and we've done it for a really good reason, and we'll dip into that as we go. So each Seabin filters each 6.0 Seabin filters 55,000 litres of water per hour, which is about $1.3 million litres a day. I think it's about $4 or $5, I think, in electricity. It's also solar compatible. So anywhere in Sydney where we operate, or LA, that has solar, we can run it off that. We get about 20 kilos of waste per day. And since July 2020, in Sydney Harbour, we've filtered 15.5 billion litres of water for microplastics, marine litter, which translates into about just over 100 tonnes of marine litter captured. So we're still cleaning up. The Seabin's a cross between a trash can and a pool skimmer. We suck the top 10 millimeters of water into the unit, where a filter captures the plastic pollution. And since July 2020, we've created 14 new jobs. So when we kicked off, we were smack bang at the start of COVID, where people were losing jobs, and we were really proud to be able to contribute to the workforce. So 2016 started off as a garbage can. It might be a bit small to see, but I'll read it out as we go. Started off as the garbage can put in the water. In 2018, Time magazine said we were in the 50 best inventions. 2017, United Nations also acknowledged Seabin as an effective prevention and monitoring device. Between 2018 and 2020, we scaled into 53 countries on a business model where we were selling a Seabin to a client. Oh, Zig, no, you finished your lunch, mate. Sorry, guys, just got Ziggy here. Mate. Oh, I know. Don't worry about that. You've already had your lunch. Go and play, mate. Sorry. Yeah, so it was not really a very sustainable business model. We were selling once in a lifetime, and our clients, some were really good and some weren't looking after them so well, and we just saw that financially it wasn't working. So, how can we review, redevelop and launch a new model, which we did in 2020. So we decided we're going to clean up cities. We would essentially offer our existing clients free services, and we would get corporates and businesses to pay for it. And we very organically created an impact data model, which is we're now oh, sorry, I can't see that. We're about to hit $1 million in revenue per year. So 2022, we entered into Los Angeles. We were in the top 10 of 100 Australian innovators. And then the revenues hitting $1 million this financial year, and just a couple of other items that I already said. So why are we doing this? The environmental problems are pretty severe. Over 150 million tonnes of plastics in the ocean every day, as of today, sorry. We've got 8 million tonnes going into the ocean every year. It's the equivalent of one garbage truck every minute. Plastic flow into the ocean is expected to triple by 2040, unless we take action now. And so environmentally, that's like pretty bad. And I don't know anyone that hasn't seen plastic in the water. The economic problems are worse, or just as bad, maybe. It's actually it'll affect us first rather than environmental, because the economic problems start with tourism. So you can't sell hotel beds on a dirty beach, so you'll start to see a decrease in tourism, which for Australia would be absolutely devastating. Food and beverage industry, we'll start to see product bans. So say a 600 ml Coke bottle or a Sprite or something like that, if that got banned, there'll be tens of thousands of people out of work, which means mortgages and rent can't be paid and more. Plastic producers, pretty much the same. Bag bans, single-use plastic bans. This means a reduction in the portfolio of products that someone can sell. And so there'll be economic knock-on effect of that as well. The fishing industry is going to be huge, because people are becoming more aware of microplastics in fish. And so people will be reducing the intake of fish in their diet, which means that, there's economical impact there. And then medical health, plastics, leaching, toxins and chemicals. It's in our bodies, it's in our blood, it's in breast milk, it's even been found in our brains. So we'll see an increase in medical costs, health insurance and more. So literally this is a train wreck waiting to happen. And, if we don't take action now, it's going to be pretty drastic. So fortunately, there's an opportunity as well. So a $900 billion carbon market, it's like 20, 25 years old, proves it can be profitable to invest in nature. So in the form of carbon credits, people offsetting things, which there's a lot of flaws, but fortunately, there's a biodiversity market now emerging here in Australia that's worth $137 billion. The idea was if you can fix nature using the carbon market, what about the rest of nature? So coastal wetlands, 70% of the earth is covered in water, 30% is on land. So it's a huge opportunity that is just kicking off, and we think will be a little bit faster than the carbon market because we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it's kind of adopted already by corporates and businesses, multinationals around the world. And fortunately, the consumer market is changing as well they really want purpose and impact associated with the products that they buy and the brands that they support. So our achievements, there's a picture of me. So Seabin was included in the top 100 innovators, which was great. United Nations Environment, Prevention and Technology, and we present our data and our findings and operations at multiple conferences around the world. United States EPA, we have a 12-month partnership over there to monitor the Delaware River. Upon successful outcome, we're recognised by all 52 states as an effective prevention and monitoring technology, which is great. And we're also been working with New South Wales EPA on multiple litter prevention grants. This is the senior leadership team. So there's myself, we got Chris Wilson as the other director, Charlie as a general manager, Fallon heads up partnerships. We got Brian on the right who runs North America, Paola runs Europe, and then we got Nat and Charlotte as our advisory members. So some questions on social media was, what is impact data? How come we're not just cleaning up? The answer is cleanup is great, it's needed. Cleanup is not a solution that will solve the problem. And so what we're doing is we're cleaning up and then we're creating impact data, which creates revenue and credibility. So the impact data is used by corporates who want to support the oceans. So similar to carbon credits, for example. It's used for marketing, communications, education, grants, local, state, federal government funding. If we're going for funding from the government, they want to see credibility that this works and they want data. And then there's a lot of other usages. An example of impact data is we come into a lot of pushback with the City of Sydney about, and it comes down to governance and accountability. You can't prove it's ours, it doesn't come from here, we're doing enough. And so all the red dots are parking tickets. The blue dots are the Seabins where we've been capturing them. And so this is a parking ticket on the right. It's got the name of the people that issued it. It's got the date, the cross streets. And on the left here in red, there is a city area catchment 30, which is the stormwater drains. And it shows that the majority of the parking tickets come from the CBD, which is kind of obvious because more humans means more trash. But where you have parking tickets, you have cigarette butts and straws and marine litter. And so we know where it's coming from. And when somebody says you can't prove it's us, we're like, we've got the data and we can. Single-use plastics ban, we can support this by monitoring this. So we're getting 301 single-use items per day. If you're going to put in any kind of taxpayers funded initiative, you need to monitor it and report on it. If you don't have the data, then you could be seen as a potential misuse of funds. That's where we come in. 1,101 soft plastics are captured every day in Sydney Harbour. Kit Kats are the #1 snack bar kind of soft wrapper item, and we're collecting 1 plastic item every 6 seconds in Sydney Harbour. In terms of traction on the left here, this is an impact report. This is what we give our clients. It's got a lot of information of what their impact is. So the cleanup is paying off. We're about to hit the $1 million yearly milestone from impact data sales. Our clients are on mainly on 3-year terms, which is great for recurring revenue. We got the 15.5 billion litres of water filtered, the 100 tonnes. We launched this as the city pilot, and we got the 14 staff as traction, which is pretty epic. Then our clients, 15% of our clients are government, which is good, but it could be a lot more. And then the other is banking, wastewater, food, beverage, IT, pharmaceutical, legal. It's a real cross sector, and these are our clients over here. So major partners, sponsors are Yamaha, the New Sydney Fish Markets, working with IBM, Discovery, Patagonia, and then it drops down into the unit sponsors, which is pretty epic. A scorecard, so we've done 2 raises. So the products and services, the rollout of our program, we've done that successfully, starting July 2020, and then Los Angeles in October 2022, I think it was. We thought that we're going to monetize the Seabin services, which was on our second raise, I think it was, which we have done. We've got the city contracts, but what it turned into be was monetizing the impact data. So we've done that, but we've also done a little bit better. And then the pollution index, we built a beta version with IBM, but its functionality is a bit clunky. We're not ready to launch it for the public. So we gave that a partially implemented green tick. For business development, new corporate partnerships, we have 18 clients at the moment, which is pretty epic. That got a green tick. And then expanding the Seabins through private sales. We've expanded the fleet, but not through private sales, which we're doing. We've retained ownership of all the Seabins, which we're selling the impact data for. So rather than selling the hardware, we sell the data, the impact. So why invest in us? The answer is to scale up our impact. What we'll be doing is research and development, new financial products. So we've made $1 million, making $1 million per year. We want to scale it up so we can have more impact. To do that, we need to build a nature repair dashboard so we can manage our data. Still looking at services with government partnerships, so looking at public-private partnerships, this type of thing, and then scaling up marketing, scaling up sales, and just generally scaling up in general. How the system will look. So on the left, you've got the Seabin, we've got water sensors, we've got the stuff captured, it's all cloud-based. There's a modem on the dock with the 6.0s, goes into the dashboard, and then we have open access and subscription data, data entry app for our volunteers and our data. The primary source of revenue at the moment is with impact data, and the secondary source is with the services. How the digital platform may look. So we bought naturerepair.com. We will be building the open access for anyone that wants to look at the data, and then a subscription model. And then you can view, track and report your impact. The scaling plan, scale into 3 cities by 2025, and then multiples per year until 2050 and beyond. Each city's got a 10-year plan. Part 1 from years 1 to 3 is to build proof of concept and social license, partnering for success, and then the subscription revenue for the data to keep us paying the bills and scaling up. Phase 2, years 4 to 10, is to obtain subsidies and support from local, state, federal government, and then subscription project revenue as well. The 100 city scaling plan started with Sydney. We then realized we can land and expand by copy pasting the model. What we're doing in Sydney, we can do in LA, which we have done. And then next year we're looking at, where else can we launch? Is it Barcelona, London, San Fran, or somewhere else? In terms of the nature repair financial products, this is our go-to-market plan. So identifying a specific area. So Sydney, for example, partnering with experts to help build and design the framework and the credit system. Developing the plan and a budget, selling the credits with a set term, using the funds to execute the restoration plan, measuring, reporting, verifying the impact, and then issuing the credits. So we've been doing this all very organically since 2020. We now want to formalize it and build a familiar product to the carbon market and then scale it up so we can scale up our impact. In terms of the competition, generally, the ocean sector is very science, research, not-for-profit vibes. So there's a lot of players. And then in terms of the white space that we have around us, there is a significant lack of for-profit business models that are really substantial. So what we did 2018 to 2020, selling the technology, is what the competition is doing now. We've changed that. We're not selling items, retaining the assets, selling the impact and the data. And our brand is really our brand, the transparency and credibility of the data is what's driving this. So yeah, we're in a pretty good position at the moment in terms of competition. The business strategy is currently impact data reporting through the corporate sponsorship, focusing on Sydney and LA. The near term is to build out the data financial products, tap into the biodiversity market and APAC, Australia, North America, and then in the near medium to longer term, starting to add in or really scale up the utility services, which takes a lot of time because we're dealing with local, state and federal government, and generally budgets haven't been issued for what we're doing, but we're working on it through lobbying. And then, so the question is, why are we doing this? We're doing it for the environment that sustains us. And personally, I don't want to take my boys to the beach with plastics or go for a surf in plastics. And, we're doing it for our kids and our family and friends. And so that's my two little boys and my mum hanging out here the other day. So currently, I think we're about 1,920 registrations so far. And so if anyone hasn't registered for the investment, if you want to shoot that QR and click the link, and if not, just check out social media, website, wherever, and you can register. So with the registrations, it'll open on the 6th of June. There'll be a 2-day private window where you can, invest in Seabin if you want or not. And then on the 8th of June, it opens up on World Oceans Day to the public. And yeah, last time we had an offer, it was, I think it was sold out in 4 days, but yeah, we'll see how we go. It's going pretty good. So I think that's me. Thanks everyone, if you're still listening.
Thanks, Pete. And yeah, thanks for everyone who's joined. We've got more than 100 people giving up some time in their lunch period to join us. So great for everyone who's joined us and all the questions we've got. Just another bit of housekeeping about the questions. Please shoot them through as soon as you have them. No need to wait. And also you can just upvote those questions by hitting the little thumbs up. We'll get to the questions that's got the most upvotes. So if you see one in there that you really want answered, chuck an upvote in there and it'll help us get to that one first. So yeah, we've got plenty of time for Q&As and we've got heaps of people on the call, so we'll jump into them now. So first question we got here from Cassie. Cassie says, hi, very interested with Seabin. One question I'm not clear on yet is when you sell the data to companies from different industries, how will this data help these companies achieving their sustainability goals? So yeah, Pete, Charlie, do you want to jump into that one?
Yeah, I'll grab that one. Yeah, so I really briefly touched on it, but a consumer market is changing. The internet, social media, better business, environmental, climate change. People have anxiety for the environment with pollution and stuff. So companies now want to support the environment to sell more products. So if you have two keep I don't know, two keep cups or something. One of them supports the ocean and the other one doesn't. People would generally support the keep cup that supports the ocean if the price point is similar. And so for marketing purposes, for product sales purposes, but also consumers, the general public that are becoming a bit more informed with the social media and the environment, we want to support companies that have good mandates in place for environment and social governance, for sustainability. And so you'll see that maybe with, I don't know, superannuation, for example. My superannuation is Australian ethical, and they support the environment. They don't do fossil fuels, you know, this type of thing. And so these are the companies that are also purchasing carbon credits and offsets and all this type of thing because they want to offset their impact or generally get an edge over the competition because they're saving a rainforest, saving the koalas, or they're saving the oceans. So it's become a very powerful tool for capitalism to fight capitalism, and help try to save the environment, which is absolutely amazing in this day and age.
Awesome. Thanks for your question there, Cassie. And thanks everyone chucking in the questions. We've got plenty of questions to get through, and just a reminder to upload the ones you want answered. So a question here from Neil, similar theme, asking about the pricing model for selling impact data.
Yeah, so the pricing model has been pretty organic because we thought we're going to sell the services, but then it turned into like, hey, companies, you got any data? We want to buy it. And so we said yes, and then we just looked at, what does it cost to run the Seabin, to pay for the environmental technicians, to do the reporting, to do the data management, to pay the rent, to pay salaries, and we just worked out over a 12-month period, divided it by the amount of Seabins that we had, but that's about to change because we need to build a better pricing model, get a bit more accurate, and open it up a bit more to the public, because currently the model is based on corporate sponsorships, but this is a really small percentage of the market that we can start to target. So if we reduce the amount of the cost of the impact data, but open it up to a wider market, we can have more impact. And so the more impact that we sell, the more impact we have on the environment for pulling the trash out of the water.
Nice one. And then we've got plenty more details on the companies that you're currently partnered with, and there'll be more details in the off document as well. Another question here from Cassie asking, is there a second process after you take the rubbish out of the sea bins? For example, are you working together with companies like Torres, or does the rubbish go to landfill?
Yeah, so when we approach a client, a host marina or a yacht club, or wherever the infrastructure is, we have two requests. One is to use the electricity or their solar power, and the second one is to use their waste management system. We're not in a position now to we don't have a solution for what we capture, but there is waste management services and companies, and they're all different from each location. And so Veolia, Cleanaway, I can't remember the other guys in Sydney, but some of them can recycle some of what we have, some of them can't. And so majority of it goes to landfill to be incinerated or buried, unfortunately. It's a huge problem, and currently I don't know anyone in the world that has a commercially viable system for sorting the waste and then for recycling, because it's really broken up and mashed.
Yeah, but it's definitely coming out of the water, which is a very important first step. And also just a reminder for everyone on the call who maybe joined a little bit later, this is being recorded, and you will have a copy of the recording very shortly after this finishes. So if you have to duck off to go anywhere, you'll definitely have access to that content. Got a question here from Madeline. This is one that I can take from Birchal's side. So Madeline's asking, what type of shares are being issued in this round? Do they have reduced shareholder / voting rights? Are there existing preferred shares that have been issued, and how would that affect potential investors coming through this round? So just for everyone's knowledge, for equity crowdfunding, ordinary shares is what gets issued. So everyone gets the same type of shares, which has been the same for all of Seabin's previous investor rounds. So there's no special rights or any attachments to that. And then in terms of the offer document, you'll have full details of existing shareholders in a cap table displayed there, which is going to be available on Tuesday, as Pete said, when the offer goes live. But yeah, Pete or Charlie, if you wanted to add any further information to that about preferred shares or voting rights that are already on issued, or the offer document's obviously coming out soon.
Yeah, no, I think you covered all that.
Sweet.
Yeah, Carl?
Yeah, and just to add to that, the company constitution will be included in the offer doc, and so you'll be able to read up on all the rights.
Yeah, exactly. And just to clarify as well, Tuesday is when the offer launches in what we call the early access period or the private offer period. So this means everyone who's signed up for an expression of interest, that's you get exclusive access to it at that time. Like Pete said, last time Seabin ran an offer, it sold out within the first 4 days. So that's your exclusive benefit of signing up early. So just another reminder, if you haven't signed up, definitely make sure you do so you don't miss out on that opportunity. And there's also a few other special, incentives you get, like you don't have to actually pay for your investment until the end of the offer campaign. So definitely some big perks there for signing up early. Question here from Matt asking, how does an investor gain a return on investment? Is there an exit strategy with regards to potential acquisition or public listing? So just a little bit of information, and I'll pass over to the Seabin team. So obviously you're investing in early stage companies through crowdsourced funding, and that's what's unique about this type of opportunity. So it's not an ASX company where you get to just sort of trade the shares on a public market. So for most companies, those two exit strategy that you mentioned there is what they're aiming for. To give you an example, Car Next Door, which is a company you might be familiar with, did an equity crowdfunding round a few years ago. They got bought by Uber in an acquisition. But yeah, Pete or Charlie, if you want to add any more details in terms of exit strategies or what you might be aiming for in the distant future for Seabin, please do so.
Yeah, so in terms of exit strategy, we haven't really focused on this too much because we're just fully in build mode. In the last couple of years, we've pivoted the model. We've just found ourselves in a really strong position to make a lot of impact. In terms of acquisition or IPO, we know that there are some companies that have been sort of hanging around, partnering with us, like keeping an eye on things, and so there could be a possibility for that in the future, but it's really far away. It's a little bit too vague or broad to really dial into it. And then in terms of IPO as well, we're not disregarding it, but we're not really focused on that at the moment. But we have a really good scaling plan. We have the business model's pretty dialed in. We have a good traction with the $1 million in the revenue. We can dial that in, increase that, and yeah. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for that one. We're fully in build mode. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, like in most early stage companies, just focusing on growth. Another question we get a bit from time to time is about dividends, and is there opportunity for dividends? So of course there is an opportunity, but for most early stage companies that are in growth mode, it makes much more sense to reinvest those profits in growing the business. So yeah, dividends is not usually on the cards through these type of equity crowdfunding rounds. But thanks for the question, and that's a really good one. If you want any more sort of details about like how it works from like buying shares in a Birchal perspective, we've got a really helpful help center where you can go to and just type your questions in as well. Got a question here from Jen saying, Seabin as a product is very impactful in removing harmful contaminants. Wouldn't expanding the number of Seabins accelerate this impact? Just curious why no longer selling Seabin, the product, versus selling data has been chosen as a strategy.
Yeah. So part of the plan is to expand. We have a 10-year plan for every location. So Sydney and LA, for example, we started off with, I think it was like 12 units in 2020, and now we have 34 units. And so our impact is going up daily, like by the hour, which is absolutely amazing. And in the 10-year plan for Sydney, we have scope for, I think it's 135 units. And then why don't we sell the Seabins anymore, and why do we sell the data? Because financially it wasn't sustainable. I started, there's a lot of personal and professional development that I've been really going through, and I love it. And I started to learn about these acronyms: SaaS, software as a service, and then they had ARR, annual recurring revenue. And so I was like, I need that for Seabin, because we've got a big job to do. We need all this impact. And so software as a service, we swapped out software with Seabin, and we thought we're going to sell the services, and then we can get annual recurring revenue. And so we tried that, but the companies were literally cold calling us and saying, what about this data? Can we buy it off you? And we're like, hell yeah. Yeah, it was like, wow, like people are buying data, and like, what are you guys going to do with it? And they said, oh, we're going to use it for marketing, for our sustainability. We need to hit targets. We want to, do all these things. And so, we retain the assets. We look after them. We employ environmental technicians to look after the Seabins from Monday to Friday. They will do the servicing, they'll change an anode, they will fix something if it's broken, they do the daily weights, and they also do the data. And so this was the reason. It was just an evolution of a business model where we think like we've really got it dialed in, which is like literally a little brother of the carbon market, which we think will be bigger than the carbon market.
Yeah, thanks for that, Pete. Got a question here from Louisa asking, you mentioned the bins in some locations weren't being taken care of properly. How does Seabin plan to then scale and ensure validity of data across more locations? Validity is the word I should have said.
Yeah, I get stuck on that. I think or the autism kicks in or something. We use the environmental technicians. We employ people to look after the units and do the data from like 5 days a week. So every day we'll do a daily weight, and then we do 16 data samples. We've built a microplastics research lab. We employ 2 full-time marine scientists. And so the environmental technicians, they take the data, drop it off at the lab. There's 16 per week. And that's how we ensure credibility, transparency, and the validity. I actually got that.
Thanks everyone for the question. We've got 25 open questions at the moment. So just make sure you keep upvoting the ones you want answered so we can get to those first, and keep the questions coming. We'll try and get through as many as possible. Still got about 20 minutes left. Maybe, Charlie, this is a question that you can take, just asking about who conducts the ongoing service of the Seabins.
The ongoing service of the Seabins, yeah, as we just mentioned, we've got service technicians that are employed by us, and they go around in their vans every day to all the units and make sure the units are running. So they're constantly looked after Monday to Friday. And this ensures like they're running 24/7. I think we have a downtime rate of something like 1.5%. So they're pretty much running 24/7, 365 days a year. And the Seabins vary from 25,000 litres per hour to 55,000 litres per hour. So that's what's getting moved through the unit in terms of water and filtering out microplastics, oily contaminants, macroplastics, marine litter, 24/7, 365 days.
Nice one. Yeah, that's it's really good to hear. I guess the more time they're running, the more impact they can have. Got a couple of questions here on a similar line, which I can kind of jump into. So Paris here is asking, could you please highlight the return on investment for previous investors in the past rounds? And another similar question from James. So in the offer document, all the details will be there in terms of share price, valuation, all that sort of stuff, which is coming out on Tuesday. So if you want to sort of compare this round to last round and see if there's been any growth in share price, you most certainly can. Obviously, we have to wait until Tuesday when that offer document's ready, because there's a lot of information to put in behind a company valuation. There's so so much that goes into that. But maybe Pete or Charlie, if you want to jump into like just some of the process you've been through to value your company. Obviously, it's a pretty big process. So if you want to jump in with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I might quickly jump in, and I'll just address the elephant in the room as well. So, we're in we're in scale up mode at the moment. So we've just got out of startup mode. We're in scale up mode, which we've got a big job to do. We want to repair the planet and get the stuff out of the water, and we need to do it city by city. And so, in terms of return on investment for companies in startup or scale up mode, there's no profit in the early stages because everything goes into building, scaling, making more impact. But what does happen is the valuation of the company increases. And then if the valuation of the company increases, your share value will increase as well. And so our valuation has increased. All the details are in the offer doc, but the methodology of how we got to a valuation is actually quite simple. There's a lot of moving parts, but so we started off with our first round in 2020, I think it was. I think we closed at 1.7 mil, which I think we started off at a 15 mil valuation of what we'd done before, what we're on track for projecting forwards. And so we started off at 15.5 million or something, because we'd done really well with the business model, but it just wasn't going to be sustainable. And then we did the second raise, which I think we landed 1.2 mil in like the 4 days. So we added that to the first round. And then because we now have, say, we have a sellable product, which is the impact data. We're just looking at our sales, projecting forwards a few years. There's 3-year terms. It's not just Sydney. We have Los Angeles, and then we'll have a third city by the end of this year or next year. And so for the stuff that we don't know about, the future forecasting, we've been quite conservative. And then for the revenue that we know that we do have now, we times it by 3 and then 3.5, that type of thing. So, but yeah, long story short is that the valuation of your shares will increase, and then
And offer document will have all those details in there, which will be out on Tuesday. Just want to jump in with the last part of James's question here, asking how can Seabin shares be sold when Seabin is not publicly listed? So that's a really good observation. And so obviously, they can't be sold at the moment, like on a traded market. Like you can't go to the ASX and sell Seabin shares. So this is the unique opportunity when you're investing through crowdsourced funding. You're getting in really early at this growth and scale stage of the business that Pete's describing there. But obviously the risk with that is that early stage companies, so the growth could be huge, but we're not sure like where it's going. So there's no public market for trading the shares at the moment. At Birchal, we've been piloting a feature called Birchal Trade, which allows for low volume share transactions to take place, but that's something that's still in pilot phase, and nothing sort of earmarked for Seabin at the moment. So at the moment, these shares are sort of buying for the longer term horizon. And I guess it's useful to not think of them as similar to ASX shares. You're investing in early stage companies through this platform. In it for the long haul, I suppose. Peter here is asking, keen to get a sense of what options are being designed for investors to capitalize, e.g. strategic sale. We've kind of covered that already, Peter, in terms of exit strategy, so I won't go into that again. Scott here has asked, in terms of impact credits, so they become valuable for your corporate sponsors, i.e. That is their currency for sponsorship. I guess Scott's just wanting a little bit more details on exactly like for the corporate sponsors or the corporate clients that you have, what's in it for them and what do they do with this impact credits when they get them.
Yeah, so essentially we built the partnership sponsorship model, which we'll transition into the nature repair impact or credits. We'll always have partnerships and sponsorships as well. So for now, actually for both financial products, the sponsorship and the credits, it'll be for corporates that want to show how green they are. They want to show how much they're supporting the environment. They want to show, hey, in 2022, we helped remove, say 30 tons of plastic and filtered 6 million litres of water. And, literally using it for communication purposes, and for the better, well, not for the better, but for some of the more like, really developed companies that are following the impact space, they're setting mandates for their own company to have, what are we doing for sustainability? What are we doing for environmental or social governance? And so using the sustainable development goals, companies, for example, we have a pharmaceutical company, they follow the goals to set targets for environment and other issues, and they were missing environment, what was it, SDG 14, life below water. And so to support the water, they did a company vote, and Seabin was the most popular vote as the platform that would let them hit SDG 14. And so that all goes into marketing and literally just getting an edge over the competition in the pharmaceutical industry.
Nice one.
Can I add one to that? I guess there's two value propositions, and you can summarize that as quantifiable in terms of marketing, consumer engagement. And then the other thing is qualitative value, such as brand equity, ESG, CSR, impact alignment. If you two things in summary of Pete's.
And then just tapping into that, because I've been reading the questions, and someone asked about greenwashing, and it's really it's hectic stuff, greenwashing, and we're in a really good position now, because people are a bit scared. They don't want to be seen greenwashing, and so if we can really deliver a transparent and credible impact to a company, then there's no greenwashing. It's, well, we have to also manage the communications, and we're not doing more than what we've actually done, that type of thing. But just really addressing that using transparent and credible data processing, reporting, and methodologies.
Yeah, absolutely. I might just whip through a few of the questions a bit further down, just to give us a bit of a mix of different questions, and really appreciate everyone who's asked questions. We've got 40 questions that have been asked, so really engaged audience here. I've got about 10 minutes left to go, so we'll try and squeeze as many in as possible. So we had a question here about like just looking through the Seabin team in terms of like the mix of people you have there. Like someone noticed that there was no CTO, and so the question was, who's going to be building the platform that you've mentioned in the presentation there? Is this going to be outsourced, or are you planning to hire someone to go ahead and build that? Yeah,
good question. We've got a few gaps in the company, and definitely the CTO is there. It's essentially it's pretty new. We've only just realized this really valuable product that we have, and so we've got a partnership with IBM to come on board as a technology partner. And then the next step is to literally find a data manager or a CTO or a CDO to manage this, because it's a really important aspect of how we operate now and our impact. So yeah, that was a good question, and that's something that we're definitely is on the cards with the use of funds from the offer, from the investments, and yeah, moving forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a few questions come through along the line of competitors and who else is out there doing similar things. Can you just give us maybe a little bit of a lay of the land in terms of maybe the Australian market to start with, and then globally?
Yeah, nobody. There are people out there. I mean, I had that on a slide, but there is a lot of research and not-for-profit groups doing like absolutely amazing work, but they're not for profit. It's for the love of the environment. They have to raise money through grants and funding and asking for money, this type of thing, donations, etc. In terms of the commercial market, which we are in, Poraloo Marine, for example, was our manufacturing partner who like literally stitched us up and made their own line of products to compete against us. But we're like years ahead of them, because we've changed the model where we're doing this for free, and they're still trying to sell like a $20,000 or $30,000 product to a marina, and like it just didn't work. So we're like, just go for it, have a good go. But we found a better model, and we have a lot of white space. Like there is not a lot of, I don't know anyone else that has a model of what we're doing, to be honest.
Yep.
Like Ocean Cleanup, they're one of the biggest groups on the planet. Absolutely amazing. You know, they're a not-for-profit. You got 4Ocean, that company that are selling wristbands and stuff, and they're having huge amounts of impact, but they're not-for-profit as well. You know, we're kind of writing the book on this, which is scary, but absolutely exciting and thrilling.
Yep. Yeah, that's great to hear. And yeah, cool to hear that there's a lot of like space in the market that you're in. In terms of a question here from Rebecca asking about ongoing communications to investors and what they might look like. So if someone joins in this round, you know, what's it going to look like in terms of updates from the Seabin team? Obviously, you've had a few investors join from the previous 2 rounds, so maybe just add a bit of detail there.
Yeah, so literally, you know, the ongoing communications, there is a platform called Cake Equity, which we use, which holds information about the company as well. And you can go in and you can check your shares and if the valuation has changed, and, you know, you can see the cap table, sorry, this type of thing, which is really, it's a really efficient way to, you know, just keep tabs on your investment. In terms of the ongoing communication, we have a investors or shareholding newsletter, which we sporadically will send out updates, any changes to the company, this type of thing. Yeah, so basically either through Cake Equity or through the newsletter is how we generally sort of keep everyone up to date with, you know, all the new projects and milestones and achievements and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best platforms out there in terms of all the bells and whistles to keep investors up to date. So you're definitely going to be in good hands there. And also, like Pete said, you'll be in the newsletter. And I guess, you know, we've got like a lot of good pieces of advice coming through as well from potential investors on this call today. So there's definitely going to be like open lines of communication there, it seems. Just one of those pieces of advice, circling back in terms of what we do with the plastic after it's collected. Catherine's here saying, have a look at SaveBoard, reusing the plastic. They can deal with less clean plastics, and they're expanding into Oz. So that's just an example there. We've got a few more questions about impact data. Obviously, we've covered it in a little bit, but it seems like people are really interested in this. So I'll jump back in. So Oliver here is asking, can you explain what happens on the ground when the impact data is being collected? So yeah, what specifically are you doing to kind of put together this data that you then provide to your corporate clients?
Yeah, do you want to grab that one, Charlie?
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So the impact data is basically after counting up all the rubbish that's caught in the Seabin. So Seabin will run for 24 hours, and the envirotechnicians will take what's caught in the catch net. They will weigh it, and then once every 2 weeks, that exact catch will be taken to the Ocean Health Lab at the Australian National Maritime Museum. In the lab, that's frozen until it's dehydrated and sorted by the lab technicians, Carly and Talia, and they go through painstakingly with tweezers. They spread out all the catch on a sheet, and because the catches are usually too big to all count, they take a sample of the catch and they go through with tweezers and they count out all the microplastics, the straws, the cups, and they collate it into different categories. And then those categories are recorded and put into a database. And then from that database, we create impact reports. So I don't know if that succinctly covers what our data is, but that's basically the mechanics of the process from Seabin to the report.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a very complex process, but like obviously there's a lot of rigor behind that, and the reports that you've been producing are looking very built out. A couple of questions here we can just jump into very quickly.
Sorry, Martin.
Yeah,
just one tick. So just tying on to what Charlie just said, like it's very manual, but we're kind of, you know, we've only just found, you know, the real value proposition of this. And so it's quite a manual process. It's quite tedious, but with IBM and the technology partnership, the majority of that is to give us access to artificial intelligence, for example, object recognition, software. So we're looking at for the data platform, like how can we also, like, can we take a picture of it spread out, and then the AI, you know, will sort it into ciggy butts and plastic straws and cups and this type of thing. And so really the data management is also optimizing the process of that. And so if we can optimize the process being more efficient, then we can collate, we can get more data. Another example is using a live feed stream of a video camera pointing at the Seabin where the stuff is coming over. That goes through the objects recognition software. And so you not only get a live feed of, you know, you can see what the Seabin is doing, the data is being collated and as we go. So yeah, there's a lot of areas where we can really dial it in and just get more technical and more accurate and more efficient, and it's just super exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, exciting to hear all those plans in the work. Question here from Cassie asking about the funds from equity crowdfunding. Will it be treated as a loan, debt, or equity? So I can answer that one on equity. So what's happening here is the company is issuing shares for new investors, and then, you know, in return for those shares, they're receiving funds. So essentially on the balance sheet, this is equity. Another quick question I can answer here from Catherine, in terms of the financials, share price, funds raised to date, and how they've been used. So that's going to be in the offer document in plenty of detail. So you can go through that from Tuesday and have a good look there, Catherine. Probably got one quick more question to go through here. Then we're just going to run through a few more bits of info before allowing the Seabin team to wrap up. So Jen's asked here, are the states or federal government clients, are there state or federal government clients? And, you know, what's the plans, or why you're not looking to expand within Australia? Is this due to federal government or state governments not willing to pay for the data, or some other reason? So yeah, maybe just a bit of information about how you're working with governments and what the plans are there.
Yeah, so first priority is a private market, because the government is really slow to react. They're not a first mover, they're not an early adopter. Once something's been built, like the carbon market, for example, they come in over the top and take ownership and manage it. But, you know, you have to, like, it's like Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams, you got to build it before they'll come. And so this is the government. So our priority focus is on a private market, which was how the carbon market was built. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We just want to swap it over to nature and microplastics. In terms of government clients, we do have government clients. We have Infrastructure New South Wales. There is Veolia with the Department of Defence. And, you know, they're really good, but it's like, essentially we're still dating, like it's a really light touch, but it's actually, it's going to be pretty substantial for us. And so we have the impact data in a private market, and then in parallel, we have services. But the problem, well, the glacial speed of local, state and federal government, we had the Liberals were, you know, running New South Wales, which is Sydney, where we operate. They didn't have a very good environmental mandate. You know, we got Prime Minister walking into Parliament with coal and, you know, that sort of stuff. So Labor's just come in, the Tanya Plevisic, Federal Minister of Environment, you know, she's come up with this biodiversity market, which is really innovative. It's the first, you know, country in the world to do this. And generally, we're really bad with anything environmental in the world. We're really lagging. You know, we've been, you know, federal government's been climate deniers for however long. And, you know, so it's a real breath of fresh air. And, but I'm starting to waffle a bit, but essentially, using the impact data and using the services, this is the foundations of a relationship and a partnership to create, you know, public-private partnerships where we don't have to self-fund it anymore with a private market. We can get subsidized if they're paying 50% of our costs or operations, and then 50% private. So yeah, it's all on the cards, but anything with government just takes forever. And the two major hurdles that we did have is the accountability and governance. There's no laws about floating plastics. It's a very new problem that's just being addressed now. But the New South Wales EPA have just sent out a call for submissions for a blank framework of how to address floating plastic pollution and other environmental issues. So traditionally, the EPA, they'll set out a built framework, and then you submit your proposals and grants. And they've just said, we've got a clean slate. What's the biggest problems? How do you suggest we fix it? And so, we'll be working with the New South Wales EPA to put forward a framework to address this, and hopefully it gets adopted or literally enforced by EPA for state and federal government.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that having the private clients at the moment, giving you all that revenue already, and hopefully in the future, like, the governments will come on board. But as we know, that's going to be a slow process, but it's awesome.
The other thing, so there's two reasons we wanted to do crowdfunding, which was financial. Like, we needed money to invest in the company, but we need shareholders to join our mission to then lobby. James Griffin, for example, unfortunately is not, in anymore. But we're trying to lobby or petition or, sign something to let's, how come everything's being fixed except for microplastics or plastic pollution? If we can get our shareholders to sign a petition or, go to Twitter and tweet out something to Clover Moore or, whoever, like, essentially we have vested shareholders that can lobby for the environment, which is, it's all of our mandates, except for decision makers seem to be super slow. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so
that's just another reason for everyone to get involved with the Seabin investment round, so you can sort of expand the excellent work they're doing. So we've run out of time, and I really appreciate everyone for sticking around. We've had a really engaged audience and heaps of questions. We've got through plenty of the questions. Obviously, when the offer launches on Tuesday, you'll have plenty more information. One more thing I just want to read out quickly. I had a question here from Michelle saying, any chance I could get some info sent to myself, as I work for a major corporate and would like to provide some more info to them on Seabin. So yeah, just wanted to ask Seabin team, what would be the best way, if anyone has any sort of leads for you in terms of corporates that might want to get involved, of connecting with your team?
Yeah, just head to seabin.io, and there is what is it? Contact us, I think it is, and that'll go to Jamie, who sorts out all the different emails. We got thousands that come in every day, and so if you're talking about corporate partnerships, maybe drop that in the subject, and that'll go to Fallon, who is the head of partnerships, and yeah, we can get involved. That'd be epic.
Awesome. And for everyone else who had questions we didn't answer, I think a lot of them will be covered in the offer document. We do actually have another investor Q&A taking place on Thursday night. So if you have a few more burning questions that you want to ask, feel free to jump along to that. But, obviously throughout the next few weeks, as the Seabin offer is going to open, there'll be plenty of chances for you to connect with the Seabin team throughout that. So stay tuned for more information on that. But obviously the emails is probably the main one there that you're getting information from. But when the offer launches, there'll also be a discussion board as well if you want to post on that. But just in wrapping up, just wanted to throw back to the Seabin team finally, just for one last sort of call to action for anyone on the call, in terms of why they should get involved when you launch next Tuesday.
You wanna go first, Charlie?
Yeah, sure. Look, yeah, in wrap up, firstly, thanks everyone for taking your time out of your lunch to join us today. We've had a lot of people here, and thank you for all the questions. I'll try and answer the remaining questions that we didn't get to after this. But yeah, we've been building the business, and we've evolved since I started in 2019. I feel like we're just on the perfect trajectory to make very positive impact. And we've changed our model because that wasn't working, selling Seabins. I mean, you could sell 1 billion Seabins around the world and it's not going to change it. What's going to change is changing people's behavior. And we believe our data and our connections with our sponsors, and hopefully our partnerships with government in the future, will provide the greatest way to change behavior in humans, which is to prevent pollution or plastic rubbish getting into the ocean. It shouldn't be there in the first place. So that's so I encourage you, come and join us, come along for the ride. We think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, that was good, Charlie. That was epic. I got like pressure to follow on from that.
No pressure.
Yeah, look, I don't know, like I'm emotionally and just everything invested in this mission. And I've worked for a lot of dickheads over the years and companies that had no purpose, and I didn't have any purpose in my job till I was like 37 when I started Seabin. I'm 45 this year. But I just love being part of the bigger mission, being part of a solution that can, really have an impact. Because like sometimes you have like a bit of a dark day or a down day and you're like, oh, this bloody plastic thing, it's such a big problem. Where do we start? And so we've built this model. We've got volunteers and people helping us, where we can also help build a bit of purpose into their lives if they want it. We can be part of a bigger solution, which is the fixing this and using the data to create new laws and legislation, working with the EPA to tell a city what to do. Like, that's powerful stuff. But it all comes back to the community, building communities around the world. We all, not everybody cares about the environment, but there is a lot of people. And when we started in Sydney, we tapped into the Patagonia community. So people are buying clothes and stuff, like they help support the environment. And so we did that in LA, and that's part of the model, is to tap into these environmental communities that care. And then as a group, we can lobby and put pressure on decision makers, because nobody wants to swim or surf or go to the beach with plastics. And I'm still renting. My $4,000 car broke down just before Christmas, but like I want to build a business where we can have people, planet, and profit. And so I want to buy a house. I don't have a house yet. I've got 2 kids that I need to support, and money doesn't have to be evil. And if we can bring people on as investors, and we can, bring in the profit and the planet, like, absolutely amazing. So yeah, I don't know, if you like what you see, jump in, and if not, ask more questions. And if anything, like, just give us a follow on social media. Like, that's, the more noise we make, the more impact we can have.
That's fun, and plenty of love coming through on the Q&A here. Thanks everyone for the kind words. I'll read out a couple of them just to finish off. So Tim's saying, thanks guys, you're doing great work. Louise is saying, thanks so much for the information and congrats on all you've achieved so far. Sharon saying, thanks for the info, love your work. So yeah, everyone's really appreciating all the work you guys are doing, and the rest of the Seabin team. We're really excited to get your offer live next week. Everyone, thank you so much again for taking time out of your lunch break to join us. We'll send around the webinar recording very soon after, so you can share that with friends or watch it again if you missed anything. Finally, thanks again to Pete and Charlie for joining us, and yeah, looking forward to getting you guys live on Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. That was awesome. Touche, Pete. Well said.
Bit waffly, but I don't know. Thanks everyone.
Thanks. See you later.
Thanks.